Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is a wavy flag tutorial. So if you want to learn how to build this, too bad. No, I'm just kidding. Stay tuned and give you a full tutorial on how I built this. Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode. For this project, we're going to be building a wavy wooden flag carved out of 2x4s. And basically what I'm doing here is, actually I misspoke, 2x6s ripped in half. That should give you, let me see, about 2 3/4 thickness for each rip. And for a flag, we need 13, I believe. 2, 4, 6. Yes, 13 2x4s will give you. I'm sorry, 2x6s ripped down will give you 13 stripes, which is what you have in the flag. And that's all the lumber there ripped down. I probably could have got less lumber because by the time I cut it in half, I think I could have made 2 flags out of that, so I probably could have got 7 2x6s. Wait, no, 4 2x6s. Rip those in half, and that would have given me enough to have one flag that is, I think it's maybe close to 4 foot across, so 8 foot pieces of lumber. You could get yeah, the math will work out where you can cut those in half and you can get multiple 4 foot pieces. So as you can see here, I have some pencil lines kind of guiding me for the highs and the lows. Basically, you just want to evenly space those. Your ridges up high and your ridges up low kind of need to be evenly spaced depending on how you want the waves to look. The bit I'm using right now is kind of like a rasp attachment that you would put on your angle grinder. And this is not the most aggressive bit that I have, but one of the most aggressive bits that I have. It definitely removes more material than the sanding disc for the angle grinders. I also have a chainsaw blade attachment which will remove more than this one, but this one does a pretty good job. It's a little bit easier to control than the chainsaw blade. That one was easily the most dangerous tool I've ever used in my life, but as long as you're using your extra grip on the angle grinder, it's not too bad. Just hang on tight. So I kind of went back and forth on this with some more aggressive blades, and then I go back and kind of sand it and kind of gauge on how things were progressing and if I needed to make any changes. So basically taking my time and just putting in the work. I think I probably did this for 5 or 6 hours at least. Massive pain, carpal tunnel, arthritis, fingernail pain, finger hair pain, anything you can think of, you're gonna have pain, because it was not fun. Well, I lie, it was fun, but it was also pretty painful. Not to mention the amount of sawdust you spit out is something else. So prepare for that if you're looking to do one of these projects. Also, I forgot to mention that I just have these dry clamped. They're not glued or anything. And what that can do is, depending on how you want to finish it, it will allow you to pull the boards apart and finish them individually. So you don't have to tape each board off and tape, you can imagine if you were going to paint each one of these horizontal pieces a different color, like red, white, red, white, red, white, or in my case, I did black and white. That allows you to paint them without having to mask off everything and tape everything. But I will say a con on doing it this way is that sometimes you have a hard time lining up the wood the same way, it went together when you were sanding it. By the time you're done sanding it, it's perfect. And by the time you put it back together, maybe it's pretty good, but it's not quite as tight as you had it when you first sanded it. So that is a negative about that. All right, now here's the good stuff. Here's me looking like a real dork. I was getting so much sawdust in my eyes that I decided to wear swimming goggles, which kind of worked out for a little bit. And then it just kind of got annoying to have it on, so I kept it on for a little bit, and it did do a good job of keeping the wood out of my eyes, because it was getting a little ridiculous. It was also pretty windy when I was doing it, so. But as you can see, this is the chainsaw blade attachment, and this thing does not play around. Hang on tight, and I think I had some gloves. I think I put them back on at some point, but it's a pretty good idea to have some gloves on, because this thing is, I've used chainsaws, and this is easily more dangerous than that, in my opinion. But a thing to consider when you're carving your peaks and your ridges are going to be in an even flowing wave. They're going to be just as big as the peaks. So basically the opposite of the peaks. So I think a common tendency is to make them a little more narrow, and but yeah, you want them to have a nice flowing curve to them, the same way that the peaks have. The tendency is to have the peaks nice and round, and your valleys will be much more narrow. So this is me just kind of removing as much material as I can, and I know I'll go back with the rasp or the sander to kind of smooth those out and kind of make the valleys a little more round. But this attachment here is just nice for removing a ton of material, and as you can see, there was a lot of material removed, and this thing made it pretty easy. And as you can see here, the waves are starting to come in pretty nicely. You may have noticed my weird looking socks. That was just an attempt to keep as much sawdust out of my shoes as I could. I probably should have wore pants with this one, but you know, what can I say? It's Florida, and you get sweaty here, so that's all I can say about that. Alright, so here I am just squaring up the edges, getting a nice clean square cut on these edges. Right now they're still they're not perfect, you know, they were just clamped together as close as I could get them, and now they're good to go. Alright, so we've finally made it to the orbital sander. I believe all I used for this was 80 grit and 120 grit. 80 for the more aggressive smoothing, and 120 to finish it off. Also, you can kind of see a pencil mark where I think the stars are going to go, and the I guess in a normal flag it'd be the blue portion. But for this one, I think I'm going to do a actually I know I'm going to do, because I've already done it. It's a white and black metallic, also with some silver and gold and pearl Rust-Oleum metallic paints kind of mixed in, so it's kind of similar to the epoxy flag that I did, just kind of like a black and white with some metallics in there. So I did kind of do a Shosugibon burn on it for the white parts. I don't know if it really came through that much in the end. Looking at it, you can kind of see it, but yeah, I guess you can see it, but I wasn't really sure how to do it while getting a consistent amount of paint on there. It seemed like as I was spraying it, it was just kind of blotchy, so I kind of had to go for like 100% coverage. Maybe I could have sanded off a little bit of the white to give you a little more transparency. Also, I probably could have tried just the pearl, because that's a more transparent Rust-Oleum paint. That may have worked for that. Yeah, I'm not real sure on that. It just didn't quite work out how I wanted it, but it still looks good, so I can't complain about it. So my experience with the Shosugibon is limited, and I do plan on doing some videos in the future, because I think it's a pretty cool technique. You can go for just a light kind of braise like this, or you can go for a deep burn and kind of a more aggressive sanding. I mean, the real Shosugibon is kind of like burn it till it's gator skin, and I guess basically leave it like that. Kind of just depends on what you want it to look like. So I kind of like I like this look, but I'd also like to try it with a deep burn and aggressive sanding, and then that would give you the more three-dimensional kind of raised grains. So I happen to pick the windiest day that we've had in a long time to spray this stuff. So 90% of the spray just went straight into the air. So okay, so now that I'm watching this again, I think if I would have sealed it with like a clear sealer, it probably would have given me more of the effect that I wanted. You could see how when I sprayed it, it would just kind of absorb into the wood. Um, so I think if you're looking for like a alternative to get a light a light coat on that, probably seal it, and then that would give you that. When you spray it on, it's not just going to penetrate into the wood and kind of basically not look good unless you fully coat it. So this is the black sections, or in a normal flag it'd be the red sections, and the white sections are still the white ones. This is the second coat of this is a black, glossy black Rust-Oleum. Oh, and really important, number all of your pieces before you take it apart. Otherwise, you're gonna have some figuring out to do. Make sure you label or number them. Um, do whatever you got to do to get them back in the right order. Okay, and this spray here is, I think I did 2 coats of glossy white Rust-Oleum. That's the pearl there. Um, so you may not be able to tell from here, but basically what that does is You know, the pearl paint is kind of like you know, like a color of the pearl, of a pearl. It's like an off-white. But also, what's nice about this paint is it's got a lot of metallic bits in it, so it kind of makes everything sparkle. And this is the black stripes getting a nice little dusting of that, so they sparkle as well. And I also do the gold metallic and the silver metallic. So basically, it's kind of like a it kind of mutes the black and the white, so they kind of blend together a bit. And y'all may have already noticed I have my Joe's classic creeper jogging hat on. And well, basically the technique, if you're interested, is just a light dusting. You don't want to go full force with it. Just a hint of gold and a hint of silver. So probably looks like I'm saying back at least 12 inches and just kind of misting it. Okay, so here it is, kind of roughly back together. You may have noticed already that I did not leave a section. I guess going by this color scheme, well, I guess it wouldn't be. In the end, it turns out to be gold, but as you can see now, I kind of left the whole flag just stripes. So at this point, I do recommend you use less glue than I did, and you know, I watched a video before I did all this, and they recommended less glue, and I didn't really listen. So I did get quite a bit of squeeze out, and it is not what you want to deal with. But and try as I did. I guess there was probably about a week or two that I left things apart before I put it back together. So I think in that time the boards did what they did, and maybe changed in humidity or dryness. And so when they went back together, it wasn't exactly perfect, but it was pretty close. And you know you can't have it all. So so one thing has become apparent: the more projects I do, the more things just don't always turn out the way you expect them to. You're gonna run into problems, and sometimes it's best to just step away and ask someone else for some advice. Anybody that can give you a different perspective on it, because it's tough. It's tough sometimes. When I originally thought of doing this project, the star portion of it was going to be, the stars were going to be clear epoxy, and I was going to cut a recessed box out behind the star portion. So basically, on a regular flag, the portion that's blue behind the stars, that was going to be recessed on the back to allow me some LED lighting to shine through some holes and illuminate the clear epoxy stars. But in the end, it didn't work out. Not enough light was getting through. But I don't think it was as much an error in my part as it was maybe just underestimating the difficulty of that process. So I actually got some advice to finish it a different way, and you'll see later on how I finish the stars. Okay, so here's me. Basically, this is the aborted method. Just using some, it looks like white silicone, but it actually dries clear. This is all I could come up with to try and give me what I wanted. It's basically to glue these stars that are epoxy, they're clear epoxy, to the flag, and the silicone's clear, but that's not really that clear. And also basically I had a friend make me a mold out of a CNC and some kind of PVC or composite board. So basically, he made me a 50 star mold, and I waxed it up and I poured that with epoxy, and I got my stars out of it. And while they were semi clear, I think if you wanted them to be pristine clear, you probably have to polish them, and I don't know, that'd probably be a real nightmare too, considering you'd have to do that 50 times. So at this point, I just kind of want to. This isn't how I was going to configure it in there, but I figured if I could find a mirror to put on the back, or I didn't have a mirror the right size, but I used a piece of board with the shiny side of tinfoil facing it, and I figured I would test it out like that, and as long as it got mediocre results, then I would know that the mirror would work a lot better and give me a lot more light through there. But the results were just not good. I mean, worst case scenario, and at that point I kind of just wanted to give up on it. But this is the save that we came up with. We just painted the stars white and pearl, and painted the blue part of the stars gold, and as you can see, it looks like a mess, but the stars are just big enough to hide, maybe 99% of those little imperfections you see. So really, when you look at it, you can't even tell that there's holes drilled in it, and there's the spots of silicone under there. Really saved the day. So a very good recommendation for that. All right, now this light strip, it's a 12-inch, no, sorry, it's a 12-foot LED light strip. Comes with a remote, has a plug on it, comes with some attachments, so if you need to cut it to make a corner, you get several of those. Got it at Lowe's for about $30, so that was pretty cool. I thought maybe I was going to have to order it, and just did a French cleat to hang it on the wall, and that's the finished product there. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to subscribe to see more videos, hit subscribe and click the notification to get all notifications. And we'll see you soon.